Mother Fluffers. I'm Jimmy.
And I'm Alice.
And this is the Signal 2 podcast.
Hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
How you doing? Sorry, you can't get... I'm hot. I'm
No,
already
no,
liking
no,
it. No, we're good?
No, you're not. Every fucking episode we
start
start
again?
off. No.
Oh.
You don't have to start again. I'm just going to halt that fucking whinge.
Hold the heat.
Halt you. Why aren't you listening?
I don't know.
Jesus fuck. All right. Well, this is off to a cracking start.
Just pumped for this episode.
This is the reason why we're number one on people's Spotify podcasts for these kind of interactions.
Wild, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely insane. So yeah, happy whatever day this is. Happy. Well, I guess it's going to be released. What is it? The 6th of December.
Yeah, Wednesday. Whatever Wednesday is.
That's tomorrow, the 6th of December.
That's tomorrow. It's the 6th of December.
Holy fuck! Do you want to go again? Do you want to just have a little bit of a timeout and come back and join us when you're ready?
No, I'm good. I'm here.
Good. Jesus
Good to
Christ.
tug.
Anyway.
Okay, I'm going to throw over to you.
Oh, I seem to be doing such a great job. It's like,
What a start.
yeah, what a start. But no. We did mention it. But obviously, this is the time of the year where everyone is so caught up in their 2023 Wrapped, Spotify Wrapped. And yeah, we've been absolutely blown away by, like, it was a good number of people. We were there number one. And it was like, oh, that's so fucking cool.
It's wild to me that people would take time out of their busy days to listen to us talk shit.
Yeah.
And just have like banter. But that was kind of what a lot of people have said, like, oh, we feel like we're just talking with you. And that's really satisfying for us because that was always our intention.
That's right.
We're like, we want you to feel like you're sitting having a beer with us or a whiskey with us. And we're just like talking as mates. That's why really the only thing structured is the data of the episode. Other than that.
Such a scientist, the data.
And I didn't want to say data. I just wanted to say
Information. But yeah, no, but that's exactly right. And like when we first, I mean, like we still do cop some criticism of like, oh, why don't you like just keep interrupting? Why are you talking? Like just tell the case. And we're like, that's not us. Because like when we're telling stories, if you're at the pub or if you're at you're out at friends in the living room or out with friends in the living room, I don't know. You can fucking get what I mean. It's not linear. You don't just listen to somebody for an hour and a half. There's chat, there's interjection, there's some jokes, there's some banter.
You go left, you go.
That's all right, exactly. I was actually listening something Stephen Fry. He's written narrated books about the ancient Greek gods and everything, and he was talking about one, and there was. I'll have to come back to it because it was so good, but it was basically like. Humanity has always grown up around the fire, and it was storytelling. That's how we would tell right from wrong. It's how we would tell morals, like and what to do, what not to do. It brought people together. This storytelling, and then as we evolved, it was like, that eventually went from the fire to the dinner table, and everybody would sit around and how was your day and blah, blah, blah. We don't have that anymore. People, we do it. You have dinner in front of TV. And I suppose this is sort of the modern equivalent. People, this is how we connect. We have a primal instinct to want to listen to others and to be part of something. And that's why I think like with good podcasts, there's obviously a range of different purposes for them, but I think that's our purpose a long way too. Yes, we want to tell you important stories and Australian true crime, but we do it in a way where, we want to be able to connect with you. And as you said, it's just wild that there's people that are in, buttfuck nowhere, New South Wales, and they're just like, oh yeah, on those long drives, you know, listening to you. I'm like, that's so wild. That's so cool.
I don't have words for it. I'm not eloquent enough to express how grateful I am. I did that people want to listen to us. I did that.
But we are very thankful and appreciative because, this is just our little side thing, but it is growing and growing, and it soon will not be a side thing. It will be our thing. So, and that's only possible because of you guys. So thank you very much. We onwards and upwards, but we are very, very appreciative. So thank you.
We are.
Speaking of podcasts, I do have to give a wrap. I don't know where I've been, but it was about a year ago. It all came out previous to that. There was a podcast called Shandy's Story. I've continually telling Alice to listen to it.
You've spoken about it on the
I've mentioned Shandy's Story and about it on a previous episode and everything. And so it was done by Hedley Thomas, the same guy, the same journalist who did The Teacher's Pet. And just like The Teacher's Pet, there was the teacher's trial. Thank you. There's now been an inquest into the stuff that came out in the Shandy Story podcast, and there's something called it's called Shandy's Legacy, and it just covers weekly the what was happening at that inquest, and oh my god, it's insane. And if you haven't listened to Shandy's Story, I highly recommend it. But then I was saying to Alice, I was like, do it so you can listen to Shandy's Legacy, because what was going on and what has been going on in Queensland over the last 10 years or so, basically because of one or two people. It's just people have got away with murder. People have potentially been put away for murder or rape or any of these egregious crimes, and they've got away because this forensics lab was so it was just unbelievable. They just weren't doing their job, basically. And yeah, this podcast brought all it out. So that's my shout out of the week.
Probably going to be ragey when I listen to it, so I think I need to be in the right headspace. So I'm saving most of them for the plane, to be fair.
That's right. Which I don't think we've told anybody, but we're going to go to New York for Christmas and New Year's, which is very exciting.
I love Christmas so much. I don't know if you can see, guys, I have Christmas nails. There's a reindeer on my ring finger.
Yeah, we are very excited. So yes, you are going to be saving that hopefully for then, and I'll be watching Band of Brothers probably, because that's my go-to plane series. But yeah, so but don't worry, because when we're leaving, we're going to be recording for the future, so we'll be releasing some whilst we're away.
And we will make sure we have a Christmas Day episode for you.
We do.
And so that way, if you need to get away from family, you got a little sneaky hour, come spend it with us, get a sensory decompress, and then go on back.
Yes, and then go back and do what you need to do to get through the rest of the day, perhaps.
Alcohol.
Alcohol is a good choice.
Yeah.
Speaking of alcohol, today is Prohibition Repeal Day.
Woo! Woohoo! Woo! Skull!
Okay.
Oh.
I didn't have a lot left.
I'm not sculling because this is delightful and it's cold and lovely.
Yeah, I didn't have much left. But this day, I don't know how long ago, they repealed Prohibition. So the 5th of December.
Shit time.
Yeah, people got blind this time, however many years ago. 100 years ago.
So imagine. I reckon police just would have been like, we're out for tonight, guys. We're out.
That's it.
Actually, we'll be out with you.
yeah.
No laws tonight.
That's it. Exactly. It's like, what was that movie we watched where like all crime is legal?
The Purge.
Purge. Yeah, it would have been. Actually, no, it wasn't, because alcohol's great. Actually, no. Whatever. Fuck it. It is what it is. After last week's episode, a really good response to it. So well done. Couple of people, including my own mother, but I noticed Mark in the Facebook group also questioned it. Did John Walsh kill previously?
Well, he even, in fact, suggested, because I mentioned there was another brutal murder around the same time, was he involved in that?
Yeah.
And that is a sort of question of, he did it so easily with his family and in jail. Yeah. Was this his first time? Which I think is a valid question. And like, obviously none of us have the answer to it, but I do think it's a valid question to float.
Yeah. And it might be something, you did mention you're going to do that case down the track. Might be worth, keeping that in the back of your mind.
See if time frames line up.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
That's right. But yeah, it was interesting that I didn't think of it at the time listening. Mind you, was perhaps my third time listening, so I don't know, I might have skipped over it. But it's just interesting. That's what stood out to quite a few people as well.
Yeah.
Is that it was at the first. And when they mentioned it, I was like, actually, that's a really good point. I don't know. Maybe. And
she is still teaching at the academy, by the way.
Yeah, what a legend.
What a legend.
Absolute legend. So yeah, if you don't know what we're talking about, please go back and listen to last week's episode.
John Walsh episode.
Was it John Walsh or Shelley Walsh?
The episode's called John Walsh.
Yeah, right.
Because we don't like to put victims in the bio because then it's assumed.
Yeah.
Unless, but if we do, we put like unsolved murder or missing person or something like that.
Because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be like, I was like, no, fuck him. I wanted to put him, wanted to have Shelley there. But then, we had this conversation. I was like, yeah, that's true. If you're just going through, you're thinking, oh, is that a murderer? Like,
yeah, exactly.
And we don't want to be doing that. So that's all from me. Do you have anything? How are you going?
Yeah, been a bit flat.
You've been flat for a few weeks now.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Just need to.
It's because I'm starting to feel better.
Unflatnetize myself. Sometimes I just feel like that. It's like I notice it's when I want to sleep more, and then I'm like, oh, okay, all right, feeling a bit flat then.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to unflat myself, really. Doing what I can. Doing the Pilates. Which is very nice on my arthritis-riddled knees.
Yes. As I said, I think I've said this previously. When you're feeling good, I'm feeling down. When I'm feeling good, you're feeling down.
It's a seesaw of emotions.
It is. So, yeah. But one thing that does make you happy is it is December. It is Christmas. And we will be going to New York.
I could explode. I could explode everywhere. I'm so excited. Just don't look at me like that. I meant like physically. I didn't mean you made it dirty. You made it awful. Tell them about the whiskey you're drinking and shut up.
So, I'm drinking this because you mentioned that today is obviously a very Aussie episode. So obviously I've chosen Eagle Rare Kentucky Straight Bourbon.
I did tell you to get Australian whiskey, but
I didn't have any. I don't have any really good ones open at the moment, and I just couldn't be bothered opening a new one. Okay. But this is called Dark Cherry Ripe, and I feel like a cherry ripe is very Australian, right?
It is, and it's your favorite chocolate.
And it is my favorite. So you can see here, it's a 10-year-old Eagle Rare. It's an independently bottled by none other. I always fucking mention him, Papa Ray at Barrel and Batch. Just such great whiskey.
It is delicious.
Yeah, so actually I lied. This is 11 years and 1 month. So yeah. And there's all this information. I don't know if this is actually going to go on to it.
It does. It often does.
But it's really cool. It kind of tells you where it was stored. It was filled on the 12th of June, 2011, blah, 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 blah. Anyway. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to be drinking.
Pop it. Oh, excellent. Oh. Excellent. That is top. That is top 5.
It's because it's almost empty. This is what I call the kill zone.
Oh, okay.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. No, you could have got closer to the mic. A little pour. Oh, we're gonna still keep pouring. Okay. James now has half a litre of whiskey. Jimmy now has half a litre of whiskey.
Wow. It's Prohibition Repeal Day. Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop.
Now, regale me with a tale.
Okay. So today's tale has it all. Iconically Australian shit is happening. We got a few firsts in Australia. We've got a few legislation changes. It's just there's a lot of firsts, a lot of cool Australian stuff happening, and then obviously
blue healer.
What?
A blue healer.
Dog. There is actually a dog in this. Dog plays a very important part in this.
What kind of dog?
A Pekingese.
Well, that's not fucking
which looks like a fucking Chihuahua. Not a Chihuahua. What's the other one? Not a Maltese.
Looks like it's
the long coated one.
Looks like it's from Star Wars.
No, it looks like oh my God, I had this in my head as I was walking home from Pilates. It looks like a pug and a Shih Tzu had a baby. There it is. Pug and a Shih Tzu had a baby.
A pug shit.
It's literally what it looks like. It's got the long hair of like a Shih Tzu and like the I can't breathe face of a pug.
Shit pug.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Okay. Moving on.
So it has it all.
Yep, we're going to talk about Istvan Baranye now.
What?
Istvan Baranye is the human being we're about to talk about.
Istvan.
Okay. So Istvan was born in Hungary, and not a lot is known about his life before he arrived in Australia on the 20th of March 1950. What we do know is that he was born on the 15th of March 1926. His parents were Joseph and Clara, and important to note that his father was Christian but his mother was Jewish.
Okay.
So when there was the occupation of Hungary by the Nazis, by the Gestapo, he was forced to wear the white armband
because
he was
Jewish.
Half-breed, in inverted commas, how they called it.
Yeah, well, to become you're Jewish through your mother.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So he's Jewish.
Yeah, okay. So he did tell police when this all ends that he was a prisoner of the Gestapo for 5 months and was lined up beside a river to be shot with other Jewish people. But when a bullet only grazed his eye, he managed to fall into the river and escape.
Jeez.
Now, he is known to inflate certain things and have a bit of a god complex and think he is better than what he is.
Well, that's similar to who was the penis cutting off guy?
Willie McDonald.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Similarities?
here. I
Yeah.
would definitely say that. Now, after the war, he made his way to Italy with the intention of getting an education, which the war had halted.
Yeah.
He studied to be a doctor and then an engineer, and here he marries. We don't know anything about that marriage, but it ends in divorce in 1948. Now, he decides to move to Australia as Europe has nothing to offer him. And like post-war Australia, but we wouldn't have come here. But okay.
Why?
Okay. Because like we were like in a recession. It was like it wasn't.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, if Europe can't offer you something, like, but yeah, Australia was the bright spot, especially for Italians. So if he lived in Italy, Australia was accepting a lot of Italian immigrants during and after World War II. So that would make sense why he would decide to go to Australia over anywhere else because, yeah, Australia was one of the biggest, I was going to say importers, like.
Well, that's why Griffith was
immigrators. Yeah.
Had so many Italians.
Exactly. So, yeah, that makes sense.
As expected, Australia did not live up to expectations.
Yeah, righto.
He moved from job to job because he believed nobody appreciated his intelligence and skills. Some of the things he states are often disbelieved, like I said, because he's prone to telling stories and thinking he's far more important than what he actually was.
Was he does. He's got an engineering degree, though.
I don't think he finished it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He needed people to think he was successful, though, that he was wealthy and had status and class. But many people believed him when he would talk like that because he did have a very high IQ. High IQ, and had that once again that captivating personality you're drawn into. Like off the bat, this guy's a psychopath. Off the bat. So he was the definition of charm, which is important because he would often face a lot of discrimination for his accent and foreign name.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So he would need that kind of to get by. Now, on the 1st of March 1952, he marries again to Eva Laidlaw, another Hungarian immigrant. Now, on the 1st of June 1953, they had their first daughter, Helen.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Eva's father had transferred a very expensive house into the daughter's name. So the new wife's father transferred a very expensive house into her name.
Yeah.
However, Istvan convinced her we should sell the house, buy a bigger house in both our names. Yeah. Then sadly, and some people believe a little bit coincidentally, in 1955, Eva died in a car crash when her brakes mysteriously failed.
Oh.
Yeah. Now, the daughter, Helen, was in the car. And she wasn't wearing a seatbelt because seatbelts weren't a thing back then. And she was thrown through the front window.
Oh, my goodness.
She survived, but suffered some broken bones and quite a severe traumatic brain injury, which left her with a lot of deficits.
How old was she at this time, roughly?
It was 1955. She was 2. Like, she was a fucking child. Yeah.
Wow.
So police did investigate the crash because they were like suspicious, but they couldn't find enough evidence to say that it was foul play.
Yeah.
But the implication is what you think the implication is, that he killed her for the money in the house.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Especially now that it's in his name.
Then that's
everything defaults to him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So less than a year after her death, he met Magda. Now, Magda was also a Hungarian immigrant who had been a prisoner of Auschwitz during the war, and she even had the tattoo.
The tattoo, wow.
Now, despite the trauma she would have suffered, she was a vivacious and sensual woman, and men were drawn to her. So she was sort of similar to Istvan in that way. You know, everyone gravitated to her. Magda already had 2 children, Paul, who was born in 1947, and Ross, who was born in 1955. Her husband, Gregor, was deaf and their marriage was failing. And it was at this time she met Istvan when she was still married.
Ooh, scandalous.
Scandalous. Because her charisma and charm won her over. They're both like vivacious, outgoing people.
Yeah, Istvan.
Istvan and Magda. It always reminds me of Golden Girls. Anyway, not the point. So Gregor found out about the infidelity and was like, yeah, no, we're getting divorced.
Yeah, fair.
Goodbye.
Good.
And he moved to Sydney and took the oldest son, Ross, with him.
Okay. And not Paul?
No, not the other child. No.
Not the other one?
Now, around this same time, Istvan decided he wanted to become a fully naturalized Australian. So he changes his name legally to Stephen Bradley.
That's not what.
Yeah. William McDonaldy. Yeah. Yeah, right?
Oh, no. It was just like Stephen, what did you say?
Bradley.
I thought you said Stephen Bradbury for a second.
No,
I was
Bradley.
like, but Stephen Bradley, it's sort of like the most stereotypical, it's like Stephen Smith. Right. Well, actually, that is
Probably
cricketer,
why.
but like,
Probably why he chose it.
Yeah, exactly.
Very Australian.
So he's now Stephen Bradley.
Bradley. And I shall now only refer to him as Stephen.
Is he V or PH?
PH.
Oh, so the proper way.
So Magda and Stephen became the perfect blended family. And Stephen loved her kids like they were his own, and Magda did the same in return. And Magda actually became Helen's primary carer, remembering that she had that quite severe brain injury.
Oh, yeah.
So she became her primary carer. In 1957, they moved to Sydney as Magda wanted to get her eldest son back from her ex-husband. And when they were there, Stephen struggled to find work as he felt, once again, nothing was worthy of his exceptional time and talents.
Where were they living previously?
Melbourne.
Sorry.
Yeah. So he used his intelligence, though, to buy and flip houses, often lying on the paperwork to get houses which were more expensive than he could afford.
Right. So what's the end game there?
Just to keep he's more worried about status. So he wants the bigger house so he looks like he's from class. So he gives off that idea that he is wealthy and important.
So, yeah. Okay, I'm hearing you. Everything is just about how he presents.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, look, if he was ever pulled up any of the lies on the paperwork, he would often just charm his way out of it. So he was very good at it. Now, he now has business cards printed to say he is a doctor of psychology. He's not. He's fucking not. And he manages to get a job as a psychiatric nurse in the Rozelle Hospital with these qualifications, but he's fired 5 months later.
Because he's obviously doesn't know what.
Not a psych nurse. But he was apparently so desperate to try and stay in the facility, he tried to admit himself as a patient, but they're like,
Excuse me? No.
What?
Why?
I don't know. There's not many details on that, but it's odd.
He's doing pretty well for himself because I assume that English is a second or third language. If he's Hungarian and he moved to Italy, presumably he had to speak Italian and now he's in Australia.
Yeah.
He's doing pretty well to be that charming in a third language.
And his English wasn't great.
Yeah. Maybe that added to the charm though.
Yeah.
It's like,
What?
I don't know. Beautiful.
Now, he's soon arrested for selling a car under false pretenses, but the charges end up being dropped for lack of evidence.
Selling a car for what?
Under false pretenses.
Right.
So I think he'd
So he's doing dodgy
defaulted
shit.
on a loan and couldn't sell it because of sorry, there's fruit flies everywhere, guys.
Fruit
Sorry.
flies. I'm like trying to snatch them.
So in late 1957.
So he's just doing dodgy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So late 1957, he and Magda take ownership of the prestigious Wanala Club, which was part of the Royal Motor Club in Rose Bay.
Rose Bay, bougie.
Now, he had zero experience, but his charm shone, but not for long, as usual. And after 3 months, the lease was terminated by the club because they're like, you know what you're fucking doing. Like,
I love that he's like, but the fact that he's even able to get himself, like his
In
foot
there.
through, in there. And it's just like, he reminds me of like, he walks, that meme of the guy with the pizza in the burning room. He's just like, everything's fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
It's like,
I'll just leave this room when I'm done.
yeah.
So they've now got the hospitality bug, though. They liked it.
Yeah.
And they figured this is their chance to have the fortune they deserved.
They deserved.
Yeah. So they opened the Karinya guest house in Katoomba in the Blue Mountains.
Okay.
And like ironically,
Sea change?
her ex-husband also had a guest house in the Blue Mountains not far away at the time, but
Oh, it's probably like, well, if he can do it, we can do it so much better.
exactly. And the plan was to create a holiday destination to showcase the best of European hospitality.
Which makes sense. That's good. Especially in the mountains.
Yeah.
Lovely.
And it was around this time that Stephen bought the family a new best friend, a Pekingese called Sherry,
The shit pug.
the shit pug. Now, Stephen and Magda got officially married, because remember they were cheating when they first got together,
Yeah.
on the 8th of December 1958, and they officially shared Magda's substantial contribution to the guest house and her £3,500 in savings.
£3,500. What, like 100 grand?
Probably more.
Really?
Like it's a fuckload.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So the guest house, shock me, lasted one season because they had no idea what they were fucking doing. But they were safe from financial ruin when it mysteriously burned down. What?
Oh my God.
What a coinky dink.
Yes.
Now, this keeps happening. Failed ventures, living beyond their means, and ultimately always in a period of financial strain. They're just not learning.
Burn it down.
Yeah, just burn it to the fucking ground, literally.
Wow.
So now they live in a home in Clontarf with a loan significantly more than they could repay.
Where's Clontarf again? That's up north.
Like near Seaforth. Yeah.
Clontarf.
Northern Sydney.
Northern Sydney.
Over the spit, I think.
Yeah, Northern Beaches.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And this house is
Bougie.
I will try and post a photo, but it's a genuinely beautiful house.
Sounds like so. What they've gone from like eastern suburbs, Rose Bay, bougie. Blue Mountains, scenic, bougie. Clontarf, Northern Beaches, bougie. Like they're not. It's not like they're like like my grandfather who was like, well, I'm going to make a go of it in Penrith.
Yeah.
When that was like sheep paddocks and shit.
Yeah. No. This is and this it's like that 2-story Art Deco brick kind of home. You know, it's got like the rounded front. So it's a beautiful house.
Yeah,
it would now be worth like $6 million.
Wow. Okay.
But what was so evident throughout all of this was Stephen was envious, severely envious of those more wealthy and socially placed than him.
Which is pretty much everybody because he keeps burning everything down and failing.
Because he's poor as fuck. Yeah. But he aspired to be that. He wanted that, and it was all he talked about because he believed he deserved to be with them. So remember that.
Yeah.
But now we need to talk about what's currently happening in Sydney at this part of the story. The Sydney Opera House is currently being built.
1958?
Yep. I don't know why I was like, yep. I swallowed it at the same time. And I was like, bleh.
That wasn't a yep. That was like,
Yep.
right. So, okay.
Yeah. We know it. It's iconic as fuck. And it was designed via an international... I'm going to talk about it for a little bit now.
Go for it.
It was designed via an international competition, which was won by Jon Utzon from Denmark.
Yeah.
So it's basically fancy IKEA.
I think the Swedes would be pissed off with that.
Thank you for responding appropriately to that.
The Swedes would be pissed, but that good joke. Well done. Well told.
It's basically put together like IKEA. So on the 2nd of March 1959, construction begins.
Yeah.
Now, costs begin to rise on the project pretty quickly and unexpectedly. The first issue arises because they hadn't done a geological survey of the area around Bennelong before, like, opening the competition. So they assumed it was hard sandstone like the rest of the ground around Sydney Harbour, but it was instead a porous substance which had been permeated by seawater.
Oh, shock me.
Shit.
Yeah,
so
but
it was
wild.
entirely incapable of supporting the structure that Utzon has designed.
Oh.
So 700 steel concrete cased shafts went out along the foreshore in order to create a stable base, which expensive. And this put them £3.5 million more than their budget back then. So we're talking like £10 million, if not more, beyond their budget for 700 steel concrete case shafts.
Yeah, but look at what we got.
Well, no, it keeps going. They also hadn't worked out how much the roof would weigh.
Yeah.
Which then impacts on all the weight-bearing structures.
Yeah, of course.
So that's once again another incremental cost. At this point, construction's actually almost entirely halted and permanently stopped. And there was a lot of political opposition to the build because nobody was doing any form of due diligence whatsoever.
Right.
Like none whatsoever. In fact, like Jon went back to Denmark and just left sketches but not actually any plans of what it was supposed to look
You finish
for.
it, I'm done.
So they're like, they had to go over to Denmark and be like, bruh.
We don't speak Danish.
Like, what the you've just drawn a picture. We need a little bit more description than that.
We eat it, we don't speak it. What the fuck is this?
Yeah, it was just ridiculous. And the whole thing's just a shit show. Actually, the only person who pushed it through was Cahill. I don't know. He was part of the Cahill. He was like the Cahill Freeways. Yeah.
Right.
No.
Cahill?
Yeah, like the Cahill Freeway. That was what it was named
Isn't
after.
it Cahill?
Could be.
Yeah, but right. So is that, I had no idea.
Yeah, because people were trying to absolutely shut it down. And the thing's basically a shit show from beginning to end.
I had no idea.
Significantly over budget. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Right.
But because it was so far over budget, they decided to create the Sydney Opera House Lottery. So basically people would pay £3 for a ticket with a chance to win about £100,000 to £200,000, which is over $5 million in today's money.
So what, they were giving away money?
Well, no, because like when people enter a lotto, you get more money than you put out.
Yeah, but... Oh, right. So it's actually not connected to the Opera House at all, other than that this is just a money-making scheme.
It's a money-making scheme. Yeah, yeah. This is solely to fund the Sydney Opera House.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Okay.
And people were lined, like there were crowds. And there wasn't just one, there was like 10.
There were 10 lotteries. And so what, you would buy a ticket?
Yeah.
And how much did you say was the winnings?
It was between £100,000 to £200,000.
Which was?
About $5 million.
Wow.
Okay. And like the Opera House was primarily funded by these lotteries.
I had no idea. That's insane. Wow.
That's why I thought I'd add all this shit, because people probably like, oh my God, Opera House. And it's like, oh my God, shit show.
Yeah, I'm not surprised though.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, like within 30 years or something like that, we had the Harbour Bridge and the Opera House being built. And so far we've got the whale penis building in Barangaroo. That's about it. So
Yeah, I feel like architecture's gone downhill.
Yeah, it might have been a shit show, but at least it would have recouped all of that money in tourism since. But I had no idea about that history. That's insane.
And
Very
the lottery
cool.
actually ran. Firstly, I got to say this. If you won the £5 million, to put that into perspective, although that's a lot of money in today's money, your average house back then was £8,000.
Okay.
So this is a lot of this is life-changing money. You can
Yeah.
buy 1 billion houses.
Yeah, so it's 5 million, but then you got to consider that that's just current conversion when everything else was cheaper.
Exactly.
And so it's probably the equivalent of, like 100 million.
Exactly. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And the lottery actually ran from 1958 all the way through to 1986. They were still doing it then.
Do you happen to know when the Opera House was opened?
70s.
Okay, cool.
70s. I thought that would have been an important piece of information, but I was more taken away by the shit show.
No, I'm
I don't
right
want
there
the
with you.
successes. I want the drama.
Yeah.
Now, one such draw occurred on the 1st of June 1960 with winning ticket 3932. Now, the winning ticket belonged to Basil Thorne with a price of $100,000, which was about $5 million. Now, Basil was married to Frida, who was born in Igowra in New South Wales. It was a small country town with a population of around 800, but she was raised in Cowra. So here's another little connection.
Oh.
Yeah, well, that's why we have the same the same detective was on this one as came in for a little bit onto the John Walsh case. Now, she met and fell in love with Basil during World War II. Basil? Thank you, yeah. When he was stationed at the Japanese prisoner of war camp in Cowra.
Right.
I didn't know there was a prisoner of war camp there.
No.
When the war ended, Basil joined his father as a commercial traveller. So basically what they would do is they would sell clothes on the road. So they were like travelling salesmen. But it requires immense travelling, very little pay, lugging around heavy items. So it's hard work.
Yeah,
like
that's
it's
tough.
and like periods of time away from Frida, like days to weeks away from Frida.
Yeah.
Now, by this time, also the modern world is taking over. So there's not that kind of need for the travelling salesman as there once was, because there's big shops are opening, Myers and Gowings and all that kind of stuff. Now, the firstborn child, Cheryl, was actually born with a significant disability, and they had made the difficult choice to place her in a support home in Newcastle.
Okay.
Now, the two had 2 more children. They had Graeme, who was born in 1951, and Belinda, who was born in 1957. Basil and Frida, they were great and loving parents to their children, a little strict at times, but very loving.
Yep.
In 1959, the family moved to a very modest ground floor apartment in Bondi. They rented it because there was no way on their income they could ever afford to buy a house. So they were really just trying to make ends meet.
Yep.
Now, they'd always meant to get a phone connected in the apartment, but Frida had forgotten, and they also kind of were a bit short on cash as well.
Yeah.
So this meant she would have to go down to the payphone down the road, which was often out of order. Now, this seems like an odd detail to include, but it becomes relevant later.
Yep.
And they lived opposite a little small park, which was ideal because Graeme, their only son, could go over there and play with all these little street friends and all the people there, and Frida
Cute.
could actually look at him from the window
Yeah.
and know that he was safe and sound.
Yep.
And Graeme was a good kid.
Mm-hmm.
He was likeable, respectful, but generally quite reserved in his nature. Now, Graeme I wrote Graeme travelling. With Basil travelling so much, Frida was forced to care for the kids in the home basically alone for the majority of the time. And despite their modern income and their lack of luxuries of things like dining out and doing all those kind of things, the couple had scrimped and saved to allow Graeme to attend the prestigious Scots College in Bellevue Hill.
Yeah, huge, like very
massively,
prestigious.
massively bougie school in Sydney.
Yeah.
But then when they won the lottery in 1960, it changed their lives. Everything now was going to change. Basil had the opportunity to slow down and not travel so much for work.
Be like a present husband and father.
And so they could figure out what they really wanted to. They had the freedom to do this.
Yeah.
They decided, though, to continue life as normal for a few months as they didn't want to make rash decisions. And they also wanted to ensure the money didn't change them as people.
Oh, they sound
and
so
also
lovely.
didn't change the friendships that they loved so dearly.
Oh.
Like genuinely good fucking people.
Yeah, good
like
human beings.
hardworking, good people.
Good
people who
humans.
deserved it.
Exactly. I was going to say so many times it's yeah, but they just sound like lovely. As you said, down to earth.
And this money is so significant from them. The money that was in the bank, the interest it was gaining while it sat there was more than Basil's current wage.
Oh my goodness. So he could just put his feet up and earn more.
Yeah, exactly.
He would have stopped traveling though? He would have stopped doing that?
He kept doing it for the first month, month or so, just so they could figure out what they were going to do.
Right, okay.
Because they really wanted to sort of maintain some normality and not be silly about the money.
Yeah, okay, understood.
Now, 4 days after the newspapers reported Basil's life-changing win, because at that point in time, all lotto winners, their details were publicised in the idea of transparency. And so they could say, look, we're not being dodgy and giving it to these people. These are the people who have won.
It makes sense, but it also makes them a target.
Exactly.
It's like I would hate to win the lotto and then have all my details out there for everybody to
Yeah, and
know.
it's like the 1960s, so you can find anyone anywhere.
Yeah,
There's no privacy things happening.
that's right.
So the newspapers, 4 days after that story broke, they actually ran a story surrounding numerous overseas kidnapping for ransom cases.
Mm-hmm.
And now a normal Australian would be relieved this type of crime had never occurred in Australia before. So like it's just a fun true crime story, but it's far enough away from their reality that doesn't keep them up at night.
Right.
So, you know, Australia is still quite at this point like innocent, I would almost say. But there's always one. And Stephen Bradley was that one.
Right.
So Stephen was drawn to one particular kidnapping in the article, and that was of Eric Peugeot, whose grandfather was none other than the car maker Peugeot.
I was going to say that's a very distinct surname.
Yeah.
Are we talking about Peugeot?
Peugeot.
Right.
So he read how the child was put under intense surveillance by the kidnappers in order to lock down daily movements. And this was actually a successful kidnapping for ransom. The kidnappers got 50 million francs, which sounds like a lot, but it's actually not when you convert it. And the child was returned safely.
Right.
No harm, no foul. So Stephen, after reading that, decided then and there, that's what he's going to do.
Oh, no.
He's going to kidnap one of their children and demand £25,000. It's about $1 million of their winnings. It's just a portion. And like he was sort of of the opinion like they didn't deserve it.
I deserve it.
I went through the war. I've had all these hardships. Like, look at these people. They probably had never had a single thing go wrong for them.
All right,
all this kind of stuff.
Stephen. At least he's got a proper fucking job that he can actually hold on to, and he's hardworking.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Making ends meet in a genuine way.
In a genuine way, living within their means.
Yeah. So
Douche nozzle.
Yeah, nice. So the most logical child to kidnap would be Graeme, as Belinda's just a toddler and is with her mum most of the time.
Whereas Graham's going across to the park,
Doing all
playing
those.
with friends.
Exactly.
Going to Scott's.
So we knew their approximate ages as their photo was also posted in the newspaper with their parents.
Okay, come on, journalism,
Yeah.
1960.
Why, journalism does not do well on this.
Journalism is not doing well. Like,
Police, tick.
Yeah.
Fucking biggest tick possible. Journalism, biggest possible.
yeah, but I think that was just that was the time. Like I'm doing a case now, and it's from well before that. And what the newspaper published is like, Jesus, all right,
Wild.
it's a while. We've said this before. Yes, right. Okay, so he's locked in on his target.
Yeah. So Stephen also knew his own kids were close in age to Graeme, and he was naturally great with kids. So he was convinced he could keep this kid calm and safe while he negotiated the price with Basil, whose name he obviously knows because everything was released. And so then the kid would be returned. No harm, no foul. Happy days.
Yeah, right.
So as he began the plan of how he would lure Graeme to like him and kidnap him, he began to revel in this process. He was like, this is it. I was destined to use my creativity and my intelligence to like commit this crime.
I don't know if
I'm
that's
so
something.
smart.
I don't think that's something to be proud of.
Uh,
Like you're kidnapping a child, a defenseless child,
Like a little
a
8-year-old
little
muffin.
8-year-old kid. Like, and you're proud of your, and the information was given to you. The information was publicized and given to you. You didn't even have to find that out.
Douche nozzle.
Douche nozzle.
So Stephen began to work out the movements of the family in the morning. And it was quite easy to surveil them because he would just be opposite the house,
Sitting in the
park, reading honestly, he would read a newspaper, and all I imagine he's got a newspaper up with like the eyes cut out.
Yeah.
Being like, ha ha ha, I am so clever.
Yeah. Yeah. I got nothing. But
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So he found out that Basil would leave for work, and a short time later, Graeme would leave the house, all dressed, ready in his little school uniform, about 8:20-ish. And he would walk a couple of blocks to the corner store where he would be picked up by a woman in another car with 2 other kids that were in the same school uniform. So we assumed they were the woman's sons. Her name was Phyllis.
Phyllis, yes.
And he would always do the exact same thing. He'd walk into the corner store, grab himself a bag of crisps, walk out the front, sit on his little school case and chomp on his crisps until he got picked up. Same thing every morning.
Well, this is heartbreaking.
Yeah. Later in the morning, Frida would leave the home with Belinda and head to the shops. And Stephen obviously never saw the older daughter because even though her name was published, she didn't realise that she had the disability and was in a home in Newcastle.
Oh, was she older? Yeah, of course.
She was the firstborn.
Yeah. Yes, correct.
And he's like, clockwork. Their routine is consistent. It's clockwork. They live a pretty normal life. He's like, they don't really live a life like there's millions sitting in the bank. So it's quite like and like that should have been like, okay, maybe they're not bad people. I'll stop this plan.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe they do deserve it after all.
Yeah, you fucking douche nozzle. So Stephen now felt confident he knew the routine of the family well. Now, the last thing he needed to do was to confirm the phone number of the Thornes so he could call them with the ransom request.
They don't have a number.
Exactly. So they at that point in time had actually installed a physical phone, but they were waiting on the telephone company to assign them a phone number and then for that number to get connected.
Which I can imagine if it takes us a month now, how long it would have taken back then.
Exactly. Now, because privacy not a thing back then, we've discussed this.
Yes.
When Stephen couldn't find the phone number in the directory, he just called the phone company and they gave it to him.
But it wasn't connected. So they had a number associated with them, but it wasn't connected to them yet.
Yes.
But they had the phone.
And the phone number.
Why
so it was simply a matter of time before it was going to get connected.
But then, okay, I'm starting to see where the problems may lie.
Yeah. So first road bump, as we expected. He needed to be able to call them, so it was imperative he knew exactly when that number got connected.
Oh, so he knew it wasn't connected?
Yeah, because he tried to call it. Tried a little buzzy buzz and it was like,
I was going along. Okay, cool.
No, he's like, okay, there's a few options of why it might not be connected. The first would be that it was registered as a silent number, which is a likely option given the lottery win.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, this is fun. I'm using my intelligence. It's a challenge. So he came up with a plan.
He was going like Baldrick.
Who's Baldrick?
Oh, he's from Blackadder. I've got a plan. Anyway, he's an absolute dumbass character, but he's always coming up with plans and he thinks he's very intelligent, but he's actually a dumbass.
Yeah, he's not.
But Baldrick's actually hilarious and lovable. Stephen.
No.
No.
Now, he was going to pose as a private investigator and say he was involved in a divorce investigation and believed the previous tenant of the Thornes home was involved. Right. So that way he could ask and be like, oh, is this the correct phone number? He even had the name of a real private investigation agency in case they happened to ask. So the story would be believable. Now, he knew they would see his face, but he's like, over the passage of a few weeks, people will likely forget me. Your accent, mate.
Yeah.
Like the accent's a giveaway. Anyway,
Big Hungarian accent.
Big Hungarian accent. And he's quite a statuesque bloke. As one witness puts it, he's got the kind of face that you see and you don't forget.
Statuesque reminds me of like a Greek god, like an Adonis.
Oh no, one of the cops described him as pudgy.
Okay.
Which I love. He's like a little roly-poly dumping motherfucker.
He's a little stabby boy.
Little
stabby. Yeah.
So the plan was that this would all take place on the 14th of June, 1960. Bang on about like, hold on, sorry. Bang on about 2 weeks after the Thornes had won the lottery.
Mm-hmm.
So he viewed this as both an information gathering exercise and an exercise to test his mettle, so to speak.
What?
Yeah.
What? To abduct a 8-year-old boy?
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Yeah. No. So he arrives at their home about 7:30 p.m., knowing most families would be cleaning up after their dinner at that point.
Okay.
Now, Frida and Basil were obviously taken aback by the fact that Stephen had knocked loudly on their door at such a time of night.
Yeah.
Because, like, at that point, friends don't knock at 7:30 at night. It's normally bad news.
Oh, true.
Now, he explained why he was there to Frida, who answered the door, stated he was looking for a Mr. Bogmore. And he used this name because he had previously spoken to a person from a private investigation agency, and they said they often use the word, like the name Mr. Bogmore in their investigations. It was like their fake name.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was the reasoning again for going so late again?
Because he knew they'd all be home.
It's still a stupid reason.
He thinks he's so smart, but all the things he thinks he's so smart are what fucks him over in the end.
Oh, well, that makes me happy.
Now, Frida knew that a Mr. Bailey had lived there previously, but she confirmed that the phone number he stated to her was indeed correct.
Yeah.
And what shook her was that he knew the phone number. Frida's no idiot. And she's like, but it hasn't been connected, so how could he have possibly got it? Because it wouldn't have been registered to the previous owner because we've just asked for it.
Get it, Frida, yeah.
And he simply responds with, I have my ways. I'm an investigator.
You're a douche nozzle.
Yeah. Now, Frida said, go and check with the tenant upstairs as they've been living here for longer. They might have more information for you. So that's exactly what he did to continue his ruse. He went upstairs, spoke with the tenant. After all, Frida might be watching. But instead of using the fake name he'd come up with, he used Mr. Bailey. So once he'd done this, he leaves, knows all he needs to, and now just has to have some patience because the phone number would be connected in no time and the plan could be set in motion. So every few days he would call the phone number until he finally found out it was connected. Now, Frida did feel a bit uneasy about this strange man who'd visited that evening. She also, of course, noted his strong European accent.
Yeah.
So she thought maybe he was gathering information for an organisation who was going to ask them for money.
Uh-huh.
And Frida, not being an idiot, kept a mental note of him. Yeah.
Good on you, Frida.
She then goes upstairs and speaks to the upstairs tenants and was like, what's your thoughts on this guy? And it was here she learned about the discrepancy of names by the man.
Right.
So she's like, sus.
So sus.
Yeah.
So she's clever.
She's on it. She's not letting no one near those kids.
No, good.
So she's convinced he'd attended for a very sinister reason.
Yes.
And her neighbour agreed with that.
Oh.
And the neighbour just happened to be married to the desk sergeant at Bondi Police Station.
Oh.
So she's like, I'm just going to I'll flag it with him.
Yes.
I'll give him the heads up.
Yep.
Now, a week after Stephen had attended the Thornes' home, he decided enough time had passed for them to forget his face. And the phone number was now connected.
Okay.
So now it's time for him to start even more intense surveillance on the family and Graeme especially. Now, in order to dedicate himself entirely to this, he took a leave of absence from his job on the 21st of June. So he's entirely dedicating his life to this now because he's a piece of shit. Yeah. So Stephen would wake up at 6 a.m., make his way to the vicinity of the Thornes' home, and he found that at, like we said, 8:30 a.m., Graeme leaves for school carrying
8:20 you said
8:20
earlier.
to 8:30.
Oh,
So
10 minutes.
That we will would leave from home carrying his school case, walk his 2 blocks, buy his packet of chips, and sit on his school case until he
It's
got
the idea
picked
of
up.
him sitting on his school case.
Just
that
like
I find
munching on his
just
packet
like-
of chips.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, Mom gave me this pocket money and like I probably shouldn't be having these chips and I'm going to eat them before I get picked up and like.
But it's more it's just like that all of that. But just you could just imagine him like so small, curled up, like not curled up, but like sitting on that case. I'm like, there's something about that that's really sad, really heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I know, but I don't know. I obviously know that he's because the Graeme Thorne case is quite famous.
Yeah.
So I know that he was obviously abducted, but I don't know anything more of that. But I'm like, just even that is enough to terrify an 8-year-old, and he doesn't deserve it.
No,
Neither does the family.
absolutely not.
It's so sad.
And Graeme would normally wait about 10 minutes before Phyllis picked him up with her 2 sons and they drove to Scots College.
Yeah.
Now, so he knew due to the public nature of where Graeme waited outside the corner shop, he would need to be clever about how he enticed him away. He couldn't do like a snatch and grab, basically. So one time he followed the car that picked Graeme up and realised he went to Scots College. So now he knows what school he goes to, more information. And then another day he followed the woman home to see where she lived, which was also in Bondi. Now, we thought it might be wise to find out this woman's name because it might help for Graeme to trust him and say, oh, this woman, you know.
Phyllis.
Yeah, like it's going to be fine.
Like I know her. She sent me
Exactly.
to take you to school to Scots.
Exactly. So we actually knew a woman who happened to live on the same street. And he asked her if she knew the name of that woman. And she's like, no, suspicious as fuck. So like, does he have some weird obsession? Like, what's he doing? So she's like, don't know her.
And this is the thing. I think this is Australia at the time was an inherently racist country with the White Australia policy. It's just like you have this creepy, seedy, pudgy, you know,
European
guy going, you know, I don't know why I turned French for a second, but like, I'm not going to do an accent, asking about to these, you know, probably very white women. They're already going to be on guard, and you're asking all of these really random, intrusive questions about them. It's like,
Yeah, no.
like, mate, it's not going to happen.
Now, he did notice that Basil and Frida were more inconsistent with their movements. So Basil, obviously, he's still traveling. So sometimes he leaves early in the morning, sometimes later. Then times he's gone for days or weeks, days at this point.
Just depends where he's going.
Yeah, exactly. But Frida was a typical housewife at the time, so she was home for most days, but would go off on errands on different days with Belinda.
Right.
So armed with all of this information now, the plan's coming together. He wouldn't speak to him outside the corner shop, too many chances of being seen.
Mm-hmm.
He would park about a block away from the corner shop on Graham's route. He would basically use his vehicle to create an obstruction in Graham's path. And then when Graham went to walk around the car, he could get close enough to talk to him at a level where other people might not hear him, but he could chat with Graham.
Right.
So as to not draw suspicion. Now, what he would do would basically tell him the lady who picked him up as usual had called, was sick, and he had to come with him. He would remind Graham it was his only way to get to school, and his parents, Frida and Basil, would be angry if he didn't get to school on time. Once in the car, he would state they were picking up another boy, so that Graham wasn't immediately suspicious when he saw they weren't heading directly towards school.
Right. Such a rubbish human being.
Yeah. So he knew enough about his family and life that he could convince him not to be scared to get into the car. But it was kind of becoming evident that he couldn't keep up the ruse long enough for Basil to get the call, withdraw the money, and deliver it. That ruse wasn't going to last long enough. Graham was going to be like, okay, something's amiss, I'm not at school. So he knew that physical force and restraint was going to become a reality at some stage in this abduction process. So he decided the best plan would be to render him unconscious as quickly as he could. And he figured this would be the least traumatic option for the kid. I don't know how you get to that logic, but whatever. Yeah, whatever. So the next roadblock becomes evident, and that is the car he's going to use. At this point, he had a green Go-Go mobile.
G-O-G-G-O.
And it was the opposite of inconspicuous.
Yeah.
Opposite. Now, stealing a car is not an option, as the theft could be discovered during the commission of the kidnapping. So he bought a new car, which he did not have the money to do, but he bought it anyway because I'm coming into money.
Yeah, that's right.
So he bought a larger car with a big boot, and it was an iridescent blue Ford station wagon.
Okay. Iridescent. Is that going to stand out?
Yes, it is. It's a Ford custom line.
Okay.
Cool, literally cool vintage Ford.
Yeah.
It's a nice car.
Yes.
He believed it was inconspicuous and draw very little attention.
But it's iridescent blue.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. Now, Stephen likes to make his plans more elaborate and likes to spend all the fucking money he doesn't have yet. So he's like, I want a bigger and better home. So he puts his house on the market with the intention that on the day of the kidnapping, the house would be empty. So he'd be in the process of moving. Removalists would have, so there'd be no one. He's like, oh, fuck the wife and kids off somewhere. The house will be empty, and that's where I can do this.
Graham to his house.
Yeah. So but he doesn't have a job. So getting a loan's a fucking problem, but whatever. So instead he tells Magda they're going to sell their house, rent a property, and then buy a bigger, better house. And Magda's like, what in the actual fuck is happening? I'm getting pretty sick of your shenanigans.
Because she seems pretty switched on. She seems, okay, she decided to marry this turnip, but...
Turnip. Old school, PG insults are without fail the best kind of insults.
But
fucking turnip.
Yeah, she decided to marry him, but otherwise she seems, I don't know. Look, I'm kind of getting good and I'm getting mixed signals about her.
There is mixed opinion on whether she knew what was happening.
Okay. Well, yeah. I'm going to go with I think she's a turnip too.
I think she's a turnip too.
Yeah.
I agree. But she said she would consider herself to be a good wife for those times, and she just agreed for the sake of a harmonious marriage. Now, it was a very easy property to sell because it's fucking nice. And Clontarf, great location, no problems.
Yeah.
And he was very proud of himself. He's like, it's 5 weeks since I learned of the Thorne's lottery win, and I've done all these things, and I've surveilled, and I've sold my house, and his plans are going to plan. And so he's being a turnip. And he's like, I have such intelligence and such skill. No one else can do what I do. Yeah, twat burger. Now, he's now once again still, they rent a place in Manly, but he's now looking at a home that's well beyond his price range. And he keeps telling agents that he deals with he's going to be soon able to purchase with cash because he's coming into some money.
Way to flag that, dude.
Yeah.
With your high intelligence.
Yeah. So the Clontarf home was to be settled and transferred to the new buyers on the 9th of July. So now time's of the essence if he's going to kidnap Graeme. So this needs to happen soon.
Righto.
Because it's now the end of June.
Okay.
So yeah.
So he's got like a week.
Yep. So now to ensure Magda and his kids were not involved, he's like, I'm going to send you on a holiday to Sydney and I'll see you in a few days. And then he was like, I'll join you. And, you know, in his head, he's like, I'm going to announce we're going on an overseas holiday.
Isn't Sydney like an hour away?
Yeah, it's not far.
So it's not like a holiday. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like, hey, I'm going to get you the fuck out of the suburbs so I can do my shady shit.
So this now, he has a plan. The plan is established. He's ready to go. We're going to end the episode there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's been an hour.
Yeah, but how much more is to go?
Oh, a significant amount.
How long would it be if it was otherwise?
An hour. We're not even halfway. We are not even halfway because this becomes one of the most revolutionary cases in forensic history in Australia. Forensics in this, banging.
All right.
Absolutely banging. So we're going to go through now what happens in the crime, what happens when, like, there's stuff that happens after the crime, and then the amazing forensic, like these, like it's not DNA, so it's other stuff because it's the 60s, there's no DNA, but like the other boss things that happen. And I feel like if we cover this all now, everything else gets like forgotten about.
Yeah, I understand. I just feel, and maybe we should have this conversation off air.
Maybe.
Is that a way to shut me down?
No, we can
I was
have it
just
now.
like, I don't know. I don't want to do too many two-parters.
I feel like I'm not the kind of person that would take the piss with a two-parter.
I agree, but I was
This
thinking
second part is
maybe
banging.
we don't make everybody wait a week for the second part.
We don't have to.
Let's do back-to-back recording, and then we will
Back-to-back
release.
recording. All right.
Well, you know, I've still got this much to go.
Because I feel like with my two-parters, I don't take the piss.
You don't take the piss at all. I'm just very wary. Like, I just don't want to.
Actually, that's a good thing I'll post a poll in the community and see how you feel about two-parters. I always promise.
No, we've already done it.
Have we?
Yeah.
Most people don't mind.
Most people don't mind.
Because I will always only do a two-parter if the information is interesting enough to stand alone.
Agreed.
Not just be like, this is the background on the person and they did this boring stuff and now I'll talk about the crime. Because the second, like, I think this episode is interesting.
Oh, I agree.
The second episode gave me a forensic boner.
So I feel like I should reframe all of this. This is not because I think you're taking the piss.
No,
This
I
is
know.
Purely just
You
because
tell me.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
We've actually done that before where I was like, nah, we're going to keep fucking rolling.
I know you've like given me like the we're rolling and I'm like, oh shit, wasn't prepared.
Whereas no.
Because I get all my timings right. I get where I'm going to end the episode and I'm like ready.
Yeah. And otherwise we've got our like, I'm just like, let's keep this fucking rolling. You know, kind of thing.
Is this laptop going to last out?
Or if we're going to, I don't know, we could stop. But like,
I have literal
or we do
sweat
it.
pouring down my face.
I am dripping. But no, I just, it's more just, if I always try to go, like, if I'm a listener, I don't always want to wait a week. I just kind of want to know
Sometimes
now.
it doesn't make it, we make it longer.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm also very aware that, we've been, we have gone AWOL a couple of times, so this might be our way to make it up. But yeah. All right. Well, we will leave it there.
So Graeme, turnip, he's going to piss off his family.
Graeme.
I know.
Excuse me.
Fuck, I read Graeme on
Jesus
my screen.
Lady.
Stephen,
Lady.
turnip, Graeme, fucking adorable.
Fucking adorable.
Sitting on his little
the
school case.
Can you correct me if I'm wrong? The photo that I've got in my mind that I'm pretty sure it's him, he kind of resembles, he's got the big, thick black frame glasses.
No, not the ones I've seen.
Oh, am I thinking of somebody else?
You might be thinking of somebody else.
I'm thinking about another case we've done in the past, with the Robin Reed case, perhaps.
Maybe, yeah. No, he doesn't wear glasses. But
need
he's
to have a
like,
look what he looks
he's
like.
a patootie. He's a real patootie.
Yeah, which I believe, obviously. I'm just gonna Google him. Why do you have? What have you done?
What
My god!
What'd I do?
Oh, it's like everything's off center.
Yeah, because I zoomed in.
Absolute weirdo.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
he's
some of
cute.
us have failing eyesight. All right.
Isn't that what the Coke bottle's on your head
Some
for?
of us have astigmatisms.
There we go. Yeah, he's a little patootie.
Isn't he cute?
Um,
I'll post photos of him. He's very, very cute.
yeah.
And his parents are like the most wholesome looking 1960s parents you've ever seen. There they are. That's not a good photo of her. She was actually stunning.
Yeah, well, she looks very, concerned. Yeah, so this episode's going to come out tomorrow,
Yes.
Wednesday, and then, maybe we'll get another part dos.
Yeah, we'll have a little chat.
We'll have a little chatty chat. And
After
then
I wipe the sweat from under my kneecaps.
And then, oh, wow, gross. And then, we will definitely have another episode out for you next Wednesday as well.
Yeah, no, this is 100%. And this is like I said, we don't often get to cover cases where there's a lot of good forensics.
Yeah, that's
and this
right.
police work, this crime pissed off the fucking community. And I mean the entirety of the community, both good and bad. Like people, because this crime had never been seen in Australia before. People were like, yeah, no, you kidnap people, but you don't kidnap an innocent 8-year-old kid for ransom.
No.
Like the community is infuriated by this crime, as are the police. One of the cops didn't go home for 7 weeks.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow. I think I remember this was actually an OG when we first started. This would have been in our top maybe 10, top 5 of our first requests this episode.
I hope I'm doing it justice thus far.
Well, it was my own mother.
Oh, yeah, it was actually.
Yeah, she requested it. I remember when we first started the podcast, she requested it because obviously, it would have been big in those days. But I think she would have only been a kid. But
it would have. Apparently, this was one of the crimes that took away Australia's innocence.
Yeah, right. Okay.
It shook the community.
Well, yeah, makes sense. So, look, we'll end the episode there, but we won't leave you hanging for a whole week for part dos. We will get back to you, and then next week we will have a brand new episode. And then I believe we're going to have another episode the week after.
Are you? No, that's me.
It might be one of us. And then the week after that, just to let you know, because Christmas falls on a Monday, we're actually going to be releasing an episode on Christmas Day.
Yep.
So we will then release on the Monday, and in terms of New Year's and everything, TBC. So I've been able to find a good case. I say good case, I've been able to find an appropriate case for Christmas Day.
Perfect.
So we will do that. I don't know if I'll be able to do the same for New Year's / if we'll have the time to properly research and record. But we'll definitely have something, and then we'll be back in the new year. But yeah.
And if you have
give you guys a bit of a rundown.
If you have recommended cases to us, please know that we're not ignoring you or anything like that. A lot of them I respect have very personal associations with a lot of people, and I want to do them justice.
Yeah.
And as a result, I want to dedicate more time to those cases. So please don't think I'm ignoring you. Please don't think I'm not doing them. I just want to make sure that I do the victim and those who recommended it justice.
Yeah, that's right. My phone's recording, but so I can't have a look at the Insta. But the next one that I'll be covering is a
recommendation.
Is a recommendation, I believe. Amy, could be Amy.
Could be Amy. Amy.
About James. So we do cover it, but it just might not be straight away, obviously. But we do take them seriously. So thank you to everyone who has forwarded those to us. All right. Well, we will get the part 2 to you soon. We hope you're all keeping it together. Keep it together.
Yeah. In case no one's wondering, this dance that Jimmy's doing right now is one of the many reasons why I love him. Oh, he's going to keep going. Okay, cool. Whoop, whoop. See you in some undisclosed period of time. I'm sorry.